Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners check-in for Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. It's 1:34 p.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, Commissioner Rachel Grant, and Commissioner Emily Klaus. County Manager Leonard Hernandez, Assistant County Manager Josh Cummings here. We are not live streaming, but this will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel within 24 hours. Written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the Board of County Commissioners. Action may be taken at this meeting. First up is external boards and commission reports. And there was a ORCA document circulating. You want to start, Commissioner Klaus?
It's on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the agenda.
The workforce
All right, well then
yeah, it's pretty simple, but.
Okay, anything else from external boards that would like to be reported?
They circulated around, I think this morning, that Pack Mountain has an ILA and I reviewed it. It looks like the last time it was updated was maybe 10 years ago, and really there's not much change at all. Kind of compared it to the last one, but it has to be signed by all of us, I think.
Yeah, that should go through the AIS process of, I think Amy's gonna get that out to everybody.
Yeah, I think it went out. Yeah.
Okay.
Just mentioning that that's online. Yeah.
So you're not aware of anything that's.
Didn't see anything,
Okay,
no,
that might-
no, and Sharon Trask and I both have reviewed it now, and she didn't see anything either.
So we could get that added to the next board meeting,
Sure.
if that's.
Is that an ILA that we pay money for some more support, or?
It's kind of like this joint, the opioid task force thing. We have Pacific County, all the different counties work with Pack Mountain.
Yeah.
And it just states how we're gonna work with them and how they're gonna utilize the funding. I mean, I don't have it written up exactly. But
Okay, we'll see that. It's a good heads up.
Yeah, we'll bring it back next week to a commissioner's time, give you a chance to review, and then we'll look to get direction to add it. If the board's good with it, we can add it to the next board business meeting on it as an AIS.
Okay, I felt like there was one I wanted to.
The county fire commissioners met last night out on Lake Lawrence. Commissioner Grant and I attended. Typically, they've got an agenda where they go over issues that they're all dealing with, and we report out on issues that we're dealing with that kind of intersect with their interests. However, last night was their annual meeting where they meet with political candidates. So last night they had one of the candidates from one of the port commissioner races. I don't remember exactly what district three candidates that are going to the general, and it was a fairly well attended meeting. They went up, they gave their spiels, we listened to them. It's not something that's recorded or anything like that, so I can't recommend to the public or the commission on how to watch it, but they did attend, and there were some good questions, and Commissioner Grant and I just kind of listened, and I had a few questions. Also, there was some kind of light report out. I tried to acknowledge how, since there were port folks there and there was fire commissioners there, how the port and the fire community intersect via the regional airport. I think it's just important to note that the airport is critical infrastructure for our emergency response needs. And 20 years ago, getting a helicopter for a wildland fire was not as easy as it is now. And if you drive by the airport, probably about 6 months out of the year, there's 3 to 4 helicopters sitting there on standby because the port has agreements with Department of Natural Resources, and those air resources make a huge difference in response capabilities. When they had the fire, the 38-acre fire in Rainier on the 13th, there was immediately several helicopters that were available to stop that fire. So that is a big deal, and I think it's kind of good to have the port and the fire commission in the same room and talk about that. So I thought that was kind of fun.
Ate some good food. Cause it was a potluck.
and they had a potluck, but I ate prior.
Mm.
I didn't know there was gonna be, I forgot it was the dinner night.
I have spoken at that as a candidate at that meeting is, yeah,
And it's right next to Commissioner Edwards' house, and he wandered down in his cowboy hat and his flannel, and I
We
hadn't-
spent some time together.
yeah, I
Rick and
hadn't
I.
seen him for a while, so yeah, I texted him on the way there. I was like, we're in your neighborhood, come visit. And so he came down and visited, and he says he has no idea what we're working on and what's going on with the commission, and it is very nice that he is completely tuned out. I
Yeah.
thought that was fun.
it is. I'm just curious, are the port's like plans to maybe do some expansions at the airport? Does that relate to does that have anything to do with emergency response stuff?
Well, I mean, how exactly, I don't know, but like it was explained that the port is looking at, you know, maybe putting some more concrete in different areas, and kind of, there are places where they're trying to,
Infrastructure.
yeah, build out their infrastructure, and anything they do there, it increases their capacity a little bit. So does that get them a fifth helicopter, or does that, what does it get them? I don't know, but
Okay.
just the fact is, the port itself has a very, very important role to play in emergency response. There's fire service helicopters there, and then Airlift Northwest has a station there. Previous to that, you got a helicopter out of Harborview. They would come down here, fly down, pick them up, take them back up to Harborview. Now they have, and this has been 8-9 years that they've had Airlift Northwest there. They have one, sometimes two helicopters sitting at the Olympia Regional Airport. And so if you want a helicopter to come fly out a medical patient, it's 5-10 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And that is a big deal.
Anyone else? Sure.
I found one thing. So I just wanted to mention that the Regional Housing Council is recruiting for some advisory board members for 2 of their advisory boards. One of them is the Thurston Homeless Services Advisory Board, and the other one is oh wait, I only have that one on my list. The Thurston Affordable Housing Advisory Board and the Thurston Homeless Services Advisory Board. And those recruitments are open until August 25th. So if anyone's interested in applying, anyone who listens, they can look that up on the Thurston County website.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Should I real quickly report on the fan zone issue? So Commissioner, we had a touch base with county city managers and mayors to just see where we're at. The chamber really needs to get rolling with the preparation for the FIFA fan zone. So, but the price tag was really, I think, just too high for the Cadillac version that the chamber laid out, and that's what we asked them to do. So I'm no criticism there, but jurisdictions' budgets are really tight. So the idea is to maybe come up with the initial, a lower amount, much lower amount, figure out how to divide it and try to get that money to the chamber early and basically say, here's what you're getting from us, and then do whatever fundraising you can do and scale it back by, as need. There was ideas thrown out. I guess other jurisdictions are doing stuff like opening up a theater and having some stuff around the theater rather than like constructing a whole infrastructure. The reason that makes, I'm not saying that's what we'll do, but what's become challenging on the fan zones is like when you set something up in an open space, this is stretching over like 6 weeks, and there's 6 games, or there's 6 games at different times. So like keeping the infrastructure all like rain-proofed and set up is like kind of difficult and expensive. Whereas if you used an existing building, you could potentially, so different jurisdictions are doing different things. So there's no reason we can't do something, even if it's not what we originally dreamed of. So there's another, Commissioner Mejia was very useful in keeping everyone's feet to the fire and saying, look, we gotta have these decisions made because times are ticking, like the viewing licenses have to be applied for in fairly short order. So, we have to know that we're doing it and kind of what the general preliminary budget is. So we're all going to kind of figure out which dollars are available on short order. because most people are gonna use their LTAC dollars and there's a whole process behind that. So that creates a challenge of everyone just going, oh, here's some LTAC money. Like, that's not how the process is much more laborious than that. But the money's needed up front. So we're gonna try to work all that through here in the next week or so and get to a starting point so that then the wheels can go. And then maybe there's really successful fundraising and we can build it out to more like what we originally thought of, or maybe we have to scale it way back. We'll have to just see, but to not be part of it when we're one of the 9 chosen biggest jurisdictions would be, I think, a mistake.
Just as we open the door to talk about LTAC dollars, I want us to be mindful of the fact that as I understand, our LTAC dollar projections have come in like dismal. And I think, like maybe we can get a report out on that, but we went, we had 2%, we up to 4%. Typically, correct me if I'm saying any of this wrong, but what I'm told, like typically at the 2%, we bring in $150,000 a year. We upped that to 4% this last year, anticipating to double the amount of revenue that we brought in, and that is not the case. It's come in about 50% less than we had expected. So, we're not
Back
gonna
to
be
where we were.
We're almost, we're a little bit above where we were. So we thought we would be bringing in like $275,000 to $300,000 to be able to spend this year. And I'm told it's more in the range of like $200,000 to $225,000. And does that sound right?
We have a briefing scheduled on LTAC.
Yeah.
Coming up soon.
So this last year's hotel stays are much fewer than we had ever anticipated.
I don't have that
Okay.
information, but we can definitely, it'll be part of our presentation that we bring, I think in 2 weeks.
It's scary.
Yeah, and it's not outside of the trend that many of our revenue sources.
Yeah.
And so are coming in.
This is, to me, this is like the canary in the mine, one of many canaries in the mine for bigger issues. Sorry.
Thanks, Wayne.
When I was told that, it's scary. I think there's gonna be a massive economic cooling that takes place, and things in 2 years are gonna look very differently than we think they will.
Okay,
Yay. I'll be that guy.
anyone else for the external board?
Beacon of happiness.
Shut up, Wayne.
Anybody wants to know about snow parks? I'm your guy now. For 2 days of snow park meetings on this week. Okay, let's go to Commissioner item 1, proposed community workforce agreement.
Go ahead, please.
I was like, okay, thank you. I have worked on a proposed community workforce agreement. It's been me and Commissioner Fournier, and this is something that I found out later that it was something that was looked at the first iteration of the courthouse. It was shut down back in the day by the board. And so in an effort, I know that timelines are kind of tight, and wanting to get something in front of the board, I made it project specific just in relation to the courthouse. Honestly, in the future, I would like to have a more comprehensive look at it. I believe that my proposal, which was a little rough, I took it from both King County's master community workforce agreement, as well as the Tacoma Public Schools, and came up with a draft. It is not fully complete. I know Commissioner Fournier has received some comments from some of the unions. I've received some comments as well. So there's like additional stuff that needs to be added on. I guess what I was looking for the board, just kind of based on this, is to have kind of to give that direction to staff to start kind of working on, and have legal and staff review review this and if anyone else has like additional comments. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. I'm not sure, Commissioner Fournier, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
It's like, I guess, like making sure everybody understands the concept. So the community workforce agreement, like as we've got a big potential project coming up with the courthouse renovation, courthouse remodel, the whole move. And so there's a lot of, there's a lot of contracts that would go out, there's renovations that would go out. And if the board sees to it, we're proposing that we come up with a way to bake into that process, ensuring that we are hiring local contractors and making sure that the money that we're putting in from the tax coffers go into employing local people. And there's also elements that you can make sure that there's training and apprenticeships that go on with this. And so we're hoping we can use this as an opportunity to kind of like learn about this and then like Commissioner Mejia said, consider it for other large projects that we do. Like when this was approached to us by one of the local labor unions, I really was remiss that we didn't bake this into the estuary ILA because there's that one's huge and there's so much money that would be coming in and they were giving us examples of public projects where they didn't do things like this. And the large windmill project that went on outside of Tenino, because this type of agreement wasn't done, they ended up shipping in labor from places like Texas. They would house them in RVs wherever they could, and the labor came in, the labor did the job, and then the labor left. And these are opportunities where we can do workforce training and help create wealth for our community that stays in our community.
Yeah, and so, kind of how this was framed, again, the used two existing community workforce agreements, and try to minimize it again to just project specific in terms of the courthouse. I'm not stuck to the title. Again, I was just trying to make it look nice for the board and presentable. But a lot of this, a lot of the language did come from other workforce agreements that are already in existence. And I think, as we're looking and investing a lot of taxpayer dollars, being sure that that money stays here locally and is supporting our local unions, our local workforce, and our local youth by going through apprenticeships. I think it's very, very important. So
Clackamas County, I believe, just finished building their courthouse and they had a CWA in place. And the labor union that was part of that construction, they were very proud of the courthouse that they just built down there. They invited us down to take a tour.
I've seen these be successful where I came from in California, especially when you're building local projects to keep local workers employed. I remember touring a site where we were building a new public defender administration center, and have the workers there, they were thanking the construction team as they're walking by because it meant that they didn't have to drive out to LA, drive down to San Diego or Orange counties. So that means that more time for our local workers to be with their families, more time for them to be in the community, investing where they live. And so I think this is something that can be very positive as we look to make the county's next step decision to be something that's beneficial not only for the entire county, but for the local economies in certain areas. So it's just yet another benefit. And if the board wishes to give me the direction, I'd be happy to take what Commissioner Mejia has put together, and I appreciate the drafts. And we can work to see how do we create a document that will fit our project and fit our county.
I'm good. I tried to bring this idea forward at the last go around and it didn't go anywhere with that board at the time. There were some like, some thoughts communicated by staff. I can't remember if it was Public Works or Central Services, but I'd like to hear, any feedback. I'm sure that would be part of the process, Is there something in here that doesn't fit Thurston County in some way, I mean, we don't want to create unnecessary obstacles that we can easily
Yeah.
pivot around, but I'm definitely supportive of the idea of exploring a.
I had some initial conversation with staff. I think the opportunity to make this project specific would give us the ability to work this out.
Yeah,
When I talked with some staff, but I definitely will make sure I do more, touch base with them. The idea that this was project specific helped their understanding of, oh, that would be probably a good thing versus it just being a broad thing to start with without understanding unintended consequences.
yeah.
And then, yeah, two items that, for example, that I will be sending to the county manager too, where I kind of did not include was the parking piece of this, as well as a helmets to hard hats and apprenticeship. And it goes a little bit further in, and I'm happy to share that language with commissioners, but I know that, kind of what I created is a rough draft, and again, trying to working from those two other huge master workforce agreements to kind of fit it into ours. And kind of passing it back between Commissioner Fournier and I, just to, be sure that it fit. So thank you, Commissioner Menser. And so I guess are we doing thumbs up, or what would you? Is there a motion?
I think thumbs up to authorize the county manager to work on this, and then we'll bring this back at a work session so we can talk about it, take a formal motion on the formalization of it, and then to move forward to a business item.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, 5 thumbs were indicated for support for moving forward on the specific. Right, thank you guys. Okay, next up is Orca memo, residential burn permits.
Yeah, so that one's mine. It's really got not very, their implications are not significant in Thurston County whatsoever, but this was something that was brought up in the Orca meeting that they're looking at revisions to residential burn permits. But in Thurston County, we already kind of have this covered through the Orca rule 6.2.8, which talks about residential fires in Thurston County and the permit application processes. So we're kind of ahead of the curve in Thurston County, but the Orca board had a couple members that weren't comfortable pushing this through until they had a chance to talk with their respective jurisdictions. So it was requested that we all bring this back to our jurisdictions to have a conversation about it. But for Thurston County, we don't really have much to talk about unless anyone has thoughts they want me to bring back to Orca. But we did have a pretty robust discussion about permits. A couple things that came up where the outdoor burning program is funded through assessments and core funds, which is the oil barrel tax. And the core revenue is at risk. There was actually an unanticipated cut to that revenue at the state level. They were expecting it to happen at the federal level because the core funding comes from state and federal, but the federal government kept it status quo and the state actually cut it. So they weren't expecting that. So they're looking at a gap of, $345,000 hole, but I don't know that that's all due to the core funding, but they're looking at a pretty significant hole. And so one small way that they're thinking about kind of filling that gap is through implementing jurisdictional assessments, even $5 to $10 for an outdoor burning permit. And there was a little bit of pushback because people don't really want to like shock their residents with those fees. But since Thurston County already has it in place, it wouldn't really do much here. So yeah, if there are any questions on what that would look like, I'd be happy to answer.
We already have the fee or we already have the permit?
We already have a permit. I don't think that there is an associated fee. I'm looking at the Orca rule permit program now.
I ran this by, and I'm thankful to Commissioner Klaus for giving me a heads up. I was able to talk with our CPED department and emergency services department. And they said that they didn't see any impacts to the county based on this letter, because as you mentioned in your correspondence with me, the county's pretty much already ahead of this. And so I think other jurisdictions who probably don't have the same guidelines and structure that the county has, it's gonna have a bigger impact. But with Commissioner Klaus's advance notice, we were able to get the green light from our two departments that would oversee this.
Yeah, thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
that work on those conversations. I also learned that we had 3,100 total permits last year for this, which was very interesting. We would have the highest volume of all counties that participate.
Can you talk through the potential future actions? What does that mean?
Let's see. Wide. So, prohibiting, so the two bullet points on here, the first one about prohibit burning in Thurston County if reasonable alternatives are found during the evaluation. We kind of had a conversation, so this was mostly about outdoor burn. Well, I mean, it was about outdoor burning permits for residential use, which would be like, yard waste burning. So they're gonna be doing some evaluations to figure out, what kind of like regulatory changes are necessary. And if there are alternatives identified to where burning doesn't have to be the option, like if there's more opportunities for yard waste disposal and that kind of thing that wouldn't require burning, then they'll look into that. But I believe that's what that bullet point is prohibit burning if reasonable alternatives are found, because ideally we wouldn't need to burn our yard waste. And so that's kind of, that would be the goal, but we don't know that we'll be able to achieve that. So they're gonna be looking for other reasonable alternatives before just prohibiting it altogether. So that's what that first one was. And then the second one about,
They wouldn't prohibit it unless they had reasonable alternatives that were.
they wouldn't prohibit it, yeah, unless they have reasonable alternatives, so.
Giant blue can.
Yeah,
And Josh, you may be able to speak to this, but there are already times where the county does burn bans.
mhm,
The
Yeah.
county does burn bans based on fire safety. Orca does burn bans based on air quality.
Yeah, that's right.
mhm.
Former Fire Marshal Cummings, do you have anything to add?
And then the burn ban permits are through Orca, not through the county. So you've got Commissioner Fournier has it just right. So you've got the clean air burn ban that is date specific from Orca, and then the fire safety burn ban that is weather dependent from the county.
Mhm. Yeah,
And Orca does a nice job of outlining that on their site.
sorry, can you say that one more time?
Orca does a nice job of outlining that on their site
Oh, yeah.
and the access to the residential yard waste burning permits.
Mhm.
Rural residents take their ability to burn their yard waste very seriously. Just as a FYI, you know, this is as you have this conversation, if you live within an incorporated area, you may not understand that there's like, I don't know if it's like cultural, socio-cultural aspects to it, but like there are people that like, that's what they do like pretty much all weekend is just clear their acreage and burn it like in piles of brush. And that is what they do. Like, it's very important to that. Just like, if we venture into this conversation, there's, there are hornets nests that you may not understand exist that you may be kicking. So like it is an oddity, or it is maybe something that you don't understand, but like, yeah, there's a few hills there to be aware of.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'll definitely bring that back. And then we did have, I mean, there was some back and forth. People were feeling really strongly about jurisdictional assessments, even minor ones like $5. Just because, yeah, it's like people want to be able to burn their yard waste without having to worry about that. But there were also strong feelings on the other side where it's like we have this funding gap and we have to be able to fill it because we're subsidizing things that the community is doing if we don't charge for it. So there was a lot of back and forth about that. But I think what we kind of found consensus around was that to start out, if we were gonna be implementing something where people had to get permits, region-wide, it wouldn't be something that they have to pay for, it would be voluntary. Some people suggested like suggested box for people to provide a payment or donation of some sort if they wanted to when they apply for that permit, just so that people who are financially impacted who might not be able to pay for it, don't have to, but then some people who want to pay more to support air quality could go ahead and do that if they want to. So that was something that was thrown out there. But to start out, it wouldn't be something where everyone's being required to pay for it. There was also compliance concerns around that, like if we ask people to pay for something like that, it's, chances are people would just do it without the permit. And so if the goal is to, you know, have people applying for permits so that they're doing the right thing when they want to burn yard waste, then putting in a fee might actually cause the opposite effect. So we had some conversation about that too, but yeah, that was most of what I had in my notes, so,
I think the only other thing to add would be the enforcement of it is always tricky.
yeah.
Because Orca has no real enforcement capability.
They'll have enforcement on their clean air portions of it, but engaging the different fire units throughout the county is always a difficult task.
And then
Yeah.
investigating is another thing. When you get a complaint from your neighbor about burning something and then the Orca sends the letter and the response to the Orca, well, it was dry season firewood. I don't know what you're talking about. There's nowhere that action can actually go without just creating administrative fluff.
Yeah.
Just to be aware.
Awareness.
I think, yeah, going, I think, great. Is the compliance thing, and is Orca prepared for that additional compliance enforcement?
Yeah,
How will they enforce that?
that was mentioned too, that there would be an uptick in costs for the first year because there would be increased enforcement and compliance efforts needed, so that would cost money. So we did talk about that a little bit.
I have a little experience with that.
Yeah.
Here at the county. Yeah, okay, interesting.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Klaus. Let's move to our last item, which is Board of County Commissioners shared goal priorities. We have a draft, which was, as I understand, is kind of the county manager and our consultant kind of trying to hone down and
Yep.
clean up, and this was the last iteration of your guys' work.
Yep, I'm thankful to Jason Robertson who synthesized our last conversations. And really, we were looking to try to get a working document that had a high-level overview of the work that we did in the works, in those sessions to identify the 5 different goals. And I think this captures that high-level overview. And we'll just pass it back to you, Chair, see if there's any board comments or any other discussions that need to take place.
Yeah, I feel, we've all kind of talked about, in fact, earlier today, we were talking a little bit about that process and, for better or worse, I think this captures what that process produced, such as it is. Does everybody have any concerns about the structure or content?
I like it, like this is a year's worth of work and it's a good starting place for, building up our muscles and, this is, when I first joined the board, 2 years ago, we did that thing, we did the first retreat kind of ever with Robin and the volunteer person that came in and it was really hard. They came up with something like 75 goals, 1,001 goals. And, like we had something we couldn't really even work with. And then we hit it again the next year and we learned from the previous process. Now we've got it distilled down. And to me, this is the first chapter in the rest of the county's life. This has helped me. I had a meeting with the new director of the Visitor Convention Bureau. And he wanted to know what's important to the Board of County Commissioners. And I had this in my hand and I was like, hey, if your goals as the new director of the VCB are aligned with our goals, then we're cooking. And he took this, now he knows what we care about. And so it helped me be an advocate for the board, not just, speak out of one side of my mouth. Is that the right phrase? Am I talking about?
Yeah, I had an
cooking
interview
again?
with Olympian about my priorities or the board's priorities for the rest of the year. And I kind of drew on this too, just to be, hey, the board worked through, these as top things, and it was useful to make sure I was not speaking out of line for what the board wanted to see.
And I agree with Commissioner Fournier that the muscles to go to like a very focused set of goals that helps the organization understand how we're gonna prioritize some things and key things we're gonna wanna see progress on and continued work is in itself a huge value. And so, you know, I appreciate all the commissioners' time. Some of you gave up your lunch hours and had to move things around to make time available to meet with the facilitator, and we appreciate that effort.
So I guess we just, there's a proposal to make a motion to adopt this. There's no further discussion.
I have a question. Since this is something that's kind of been a work in progress this year and we're getting surprised, it's crazy to say, but like, we're kind of getting close to the end of the year now, which flew by, but it says on here that these will remain priorities through next year and will be revisited at that time. And I'm just wondering at what point in 2026 are we gonna come together, and would the plan then be to take this framework and in the next whatever we call it, retreat or whatever we call it, do we kind of like figure out operational impacts or kind of like expand on what we have here, or do we know what that process will look like next year?
Yeah, we do plan to have a retreat next year. The team is actually working on a 26 calendar for all key things for the board. We did that, I think, too late this year, or for this year. So our hope is to bring that to you in the early fall, so we can get all of that locked in. Retreat will be part of that, and we can discuss as part of the retreat how deep you want to go into this.
Okay.
And then we can set dates. But it'll be things like our meeting calendar and some of the things that we normally do as we set that up, but we'd like to get all of that dialed in before we get into the holiday period where it's also budget approval, and those meetings go real fast. It gives us time to think it through and then to identify, are there any other things that we need to be looking at from a calendar of events? We did it with staff, but what we'd like to do is to also do it with the commissioners, because there's a lot of things that happen in our community that pull on your attention and time, and some things that all of you will want to be at. It's just a useful exercise. Included in that would be establishing the 2026 board business meeting calendar, looking at that, and then putting in different things that we know, like WASAC conferences, NACO conferences, timeframes, and our local official social events and other things that we know are staples for what we do in a calendar.
We won't be traveling much next year.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
To kind of look at the year.
Yeah.
Make sure things doesn't slip through a crack.
Teams are working on it right now, so we hope maybe by the end of August, well, it's already the end of August, but like by mid-September, we can bring that and have that discussion.
But I think like the kind of like my understanding of the point is this is to keep us on track. So like this does set our course for not just 1 year, but like multiple years. And this keeps us going in a direction without, you know, coming in and forgetting what our goals are and pivoting, because like it's consistency that gets things accomplished. And if we go from 1 year to the next with a whole new set of goals and a whole new set of goals, or, you know, the next commissioners come in and they've got different ideas, you know, they've got to work to make those the board goals, you know, so we adopt these and we keep on course for what the community needs to make like real change or real improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. I think this is a really good list. It's a huge list. They're very large topics, each one of them. So I think that once we kind of dial it in next time we talk about it, it'll be great, but this definitely sets us on the right track, so.
I did just want to make one comment on on number 5. We talked about centralized communications. We were actually toying with that, make it coordinated and strategic communications, because we in no way want the offices to think that we are our elected offices in the county to think that we're taking away any of their autonomy. We got some feedback about that. So I'm just saying it out there for the record. we will definitely coordinate and strategize with our offices and keep them in the loop. Susan's already starting to bring the group together of communicators in the county for communication sharing and then getting from them ideas that then we can turn into stories and inform what we do, even as updates out to the board and business meetings to keep the public aware of the great stuff that's going on here in the county. So this wasn't meant to be a signal that we're taking their elected autonomy away, but more of our direction to be strategic and coordinated in our communication. And I think we've started to see some real good steps in that direction. But as our new chief communications manager builds the team and builds that approach, we'll just see a lot more of that.
Do we wanna like change that to coordinated communications instead of centralized? I like the way that that feels better, cause centralized communications might feel like we're trying to like control the communications in one place versus what you said, which is really the goal, is to coordinate it better.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind changing it. If it wasn't for just we ran out of time, I think the team would have tried to get a draft out with the suggested change from centralized to coordinated. Words matter in the future, and so we don't want anyone to think that we're trying to take things away from them.
Yeah.
How about centrally coordinated?
What did you say?
Centrally
Just
coordinated.
The suggestion
Best
of
of both
coordinated
worlds.
and strategic.
Yeah.
I
Coordinated,
like
okay.
that.
So we could just adopt this with that,
Yes.
So I'll make a
Edit.
motion. I move to adopt the Board of County Commissioners' shared goal priorities through 2026 as outlined in the Thurston County Goals Action Framework document with the change of number 5 to coordinated and strategic communications from centralized communications.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the amended shared goal priorities. Any discussion? Call for the vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. And that's the end of the agenda. So thanks everybody for the day. And
Did you have the ERP letter,
The
From-
EPA letter?
EPA?
No, I was
Thing?
actually,
Oh, that's right, you mentioned that.
yeah, I
Right.
mentioned it, and I'm still working with Orca to figure out what their strategy is gonna be, so I'll bring that back next week. I have a conversation with another Orca representative this week to talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks for asking.
Okay, great, adjourned.
You just mentioned it in the morning, so I was like, wait.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I kind of got that mixed up with the burn ban thing, or the burn permit.
The public market.
Yeah.
Then